Christopher McVoy,
Here.
Commissioner Kimberly Stokes.
Here.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm calling the special meeting of special meeting of the City Commission, which is today is September 26th, 5th, 4th. Thank you.
Of course.
I thought it was the 23rd.
And it's about 10 after 1, and we have 4 finalists for this position, and we have some time to interview them. And what I'm going to suggest, each one of you has on your desk a list of interview questions. There are different groups: interpersonal skills, administrative skills, technical skills, personal management questions, and general track record, which is 5 different categories. So what I was going to suggest, because we only have a half an hour for each person, I was going to suggest that each one of us pick from like one district take interpersonal skills, one district take the next, and just ask, I would think, the same question of each of the candidates as we go through them. So I'm going to start with Commissioner Robinson. Which of the 5 categories would you like to take questions on? And then tell us which question. And I know it's quick reading, we just got this, but it will help us not get off track.
Personal management skills.
Okay.
I consider the most important.
So is
Okay.
that
Personal management
personnel
questions.
management?
That's 26.
Okay.
And then you're going to ask the same question of each. Pick one of the questions. You don't have to tell us now, but pick one of the questions, and that will be the question that you ask each. Everybody okay with this? I think we need a little direction.
You are the boss.
Okay.
Mayor, would you like to do the pledge before you get started, please?
I'd be delighted. Let's have the pledge by Commissioner McVoy, who's back with us.
And I did.
I noticed. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And I'll make a quick invocation. Please, dear God, guide us.
Amen, amen, amen.
So Commissioner Stokes, which group would you like to ask from?
I'll just interpersonal skills.
Okay. Commissioner McVoy,
I would go for the track record.
okay. Commissioner Maliga,
I'll do admin skills.
okay. And I guess I'll take technical. So it just seems like this would be a uniform way, a fair way to ask the same, we'll get the same question each time. And keep within time. I'm going to, hopefully we'll have time for them to give like a 3-minute closing statement as well in their time, because they each have about a half an hour. Yeah. And we're running a little behind already. So the first on our list here, our first interviewee is Thaddeus Cohen. And this is in no particular order. So we need to get Mr. Cohen up here.
Alphabetical.
It's alphabetical. That's why you're the lawyer.
And shouldn't break be ahead of Cohen?
It breaks should be ahead. Do we want to take a minute to write out what our question is in our category so that we?
But here's a choice of questions.
Right here on this page.
Yeah,
We've been given questions.
you've been given questions.
Circle one that you like or highlight it if you want to. And you pick one and you ask them one.
Yeah, they have good questions.
Every
I mean,
specific question.
Yeah,
So what did you decided on what?
general track
General
record.
track record. There's more on the next page, I believe.
Okay. So, and I'm just going to call this randomly. So that you always have to be on your toes. So do you need a minute to?
I chose my personal management skills because there were only 3 questions.
Of course.
There's 4.
There's 4, sir.
Or support.
26, 27,
Public, please
29.
bear with us. This is a process we've not been through yet. And we're doing the best we can.
Okay, there are 4.
Yes.
Stand corrected.
So,
And then Mayor, do you want us to score 1 to 5?
that's what they're suggesting, and these numbers in boxes always make me uncomfortable.
Yeah, I like that. I don't like scoring.
Okay, do we want to not
Personally.
completely score 1 to 5 and just kind of organically discuss it after we're done, and it's not a numeric?
This is not a record anyhow, is it?
Yes.
This is just for our own use.
Everything's a record, correct?
Well, everything's a record.
That's the way we're handling it. If you write something down, it's a record. Obviously, if you don't write anything down, it's not a record.
I'm sorry?
If you don't write it down, it's not a record.
Right, so if we want to not follow this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way down, because they will,
Only advice from my attorney.
then do we want to just sort of trust ourselves to remember what they talk about and then discuss them organically
Yeah,
as?
no, I don't trust that. I'm writing down stuff, so it doesn't.
I'll write something down.
No, but I'm not using this form.
Right.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I
Yeah.
read through the materials that were sent, and I believe that if Ms. Klein could chime in, that the commissioners were asked to not rank them, but to maybe check off their top 2. But I think Ms. Klein would be helpful here to explain the process before you start with your first interview.
Okay,
Klein, can you unmute? She's unmuted.
we have not met her yet.
Yeah, so you have your evaluation guide and you're welcome to fill that out for each of the candidates, just so that you kind of, you can check the box if you feel they were strong in that area, or make whatever notes that you want. Later today, when we do the actual poll and voting, at that point, I will ask you to pick your top 2. And we'll calculate those results, and then we'll take the top amongst those and then do a second poll. And so the evaluation guide is just for you to make notes on that you want to have in order to help you do that final choice. But yes, you
Or we
will.
could just make our own random notes on a piece of paper.
And why are we choosing 2 out of 4? Why don't we choose 1 out of 4?
The top 2?
You just pick we just ask that everybody picks their top 2. And then we'll calculate those votes, and then we'll do a second vote amongst the people who get the highest number of votes. We just found this to be the most fair way to do it.
Commissioner Robinson, are you suggesting something different?
I'm suggesting that we have 4 to look at, and we can make a choice of 1 rather than, I don't know,
We will end up with a choice of 1.
out of 4.
It's like ranked choice voting. We all
Okay.
vote for our top 2, and then we see how that pans out, and then we keep going until we get 1, or so.
Yeah, so generally we ask that you pick your top 2 in the first poll, and in the second poll, when we've narrowed it down a little bit, then you pick 1.
Good.
And so then at that point, that would be your top candidate. But this helps, because if your number 1 person is not picked by the majority of council and doesn't move to the next poll, then you have more of a say if you pick 2 in the first poll.
Okay,
So you'll pick 2 in the first poll and then 1 in the second. But if you really don't have a second, if you have 1 clear winner and only want to pick 1, that's fine.
okay.
But you have the option to pick 2 if there's, if you just want to have a say in 2 candidates. I
Okay,
guess.
and when they're done with their individual interviews, they are then free to leave. We're not asking them to sit around and wait for any result or anything.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, that needs to be communicated officially to those folks. Maybe Sylvina can help us with that. Okay, thank you very much. And your name, I'm sorry, your name is
Linnell.
Linnell. Okay,
Yeah.
And
yeah,
just so I'm clear, is our plan to have a final vote today by the end of
Yes.
things? Or
that's our intent.
Yes.
And we don't know what that final vote will be, obviously,
Well,
but,
no, I
Yeah.
understand that.
but I mean, today's the day we're supposed to take action.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, it's like speed dating with a marriage instead of speed dating with
with the
dinner.
date.
They call that a shotgun wedding?
Yeah,
Now,
It's better than swiping left or right.
I mean,
We've actually
is-
elevated ourselves.
the comments are partly in humor, but there's some insight behind them. Is there any wisdom to us all and ourselves and as a community sleeping on it and making a decision on Monday at the budget meeting or some other
I slept on last
amended
night.
time or.
I've been sleeping on it.
I've been doing nothing but.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of obsessing about it, actually.
Too. My wife can't wait till we hire somebody.
Madam Mayor, I have advised them of the preference for them to leave, but since it's a
Not
sunshine
a
law
preference.
meeting, we cannot ask them to leave, so.
Oh, that's fine, yeah. Get out. All right.
It wasn't a
So-
preference for them to leave.
We just wanted to offer them the opportunity.
Okay,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the first person that we're going to have is Mr. Thaddeus Cohen. And we're starting at about 1:20. We're behind already, of
I
course.
know, I'm getting nervous.
But we have all afternoon. But you're 4:00. Okay.
Oh, well, figure it out.
Okay. We can always take a book, should be. Okay. So pick one question you're going to ask each of the people. And we should, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
I'm just wondering, for the benefit of the people that are going to be answering their questions, they're going to get 5 questions. Should we maybe time them for like 4 minutes for an answer? And then that will leave them a couple minutes for a closing statement?
I can do that. I had my timer set to 30 minutes, but I can do
What do you think about
more,
that?
which I'll start after the question has been asked.
Okay, to keep them on track, I think that's good. Hi,
I'd be
come
happy
on
to
up.
do that.
we need to tell them.
Mr. Cohen, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Good to see you again.
Same here.
All right.
Able to,
Unmask, I think it's probably better. Because we are pressed for time and we have a lot of good questions and a lot of good people. What we're going to do is we're going to be asking you 5 questions from the dais.
Okay.
That microphone, the microphone for Zoom is on, so you're okay.
okay,
Yeah. So each one of us is going to ask a question, and I asked the clerk to time you to like 4-minute answers so that either you don't ramble on with one, and it'll leave you a couple minutes at the end for like a 4-minute closing.
sure enough. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Okay.
So I'm going to call on Commissioner Robinson first to ask his question.
I have a written question here. It's, what kind of relationship do you plan to have with the city's senior managers? And I'm going to throw in a community as well in terms of relationship and how you plan to establish that.
My sense is I like to be able to have a collaborative relationship with the staff. My sense is their success is my success, and my ability, I think, to work with them so that they can meet their goals and objectives through the policies and directions that you set provides an opportunity for us to work as a team. And as far as the community is being able to have outreach so that the same kind of thing, that we can get a sense of what it is that the community finds to be important within the context of the strategic plan that you have that provides a framework for how it is that we have our interactions. And I think if we're able to establish that early on within the first, say, 90 days that I'm here, and I think that can create a foundation and a framework for us to be able to meet your goals as well as our internal goals as an organization.
Follow up, is the rest of that question or the other part of the sentence is how do you hold them accountable for the results?
I think there's a couple of ways that you can do that. One is through the goals and objectives that you set as an organization as to the benchmarks that we're trying to accomplish. So whether it's how we move through the permitting process in a timely manner, or how it is that we get so many miles of roads paved. One of the things that I think is important is to be able to have feedback from your directors. And the way I work is to have that weekly meeting so that we're all together and we're able to exchange ideas so that we're not siloed. Oftentimes within those meetings, we have a chance to exchange how it is that we're operating. We can get great ideas from other divisions and departments, and we have a chance to share those. And it also provides us with an opportunity then to set those benchmarks as to how it is that we're doing. Another thing that I think that we can also do is to get feedback from the community on an ongoing basis so that we can think in terms of how we do continuous improvement. So to do a survey, for example, to be able to ask that question, what was the interaction with our staff and was it professional? Did you get the information that you asked for? Was it timely? And then for others, it might be, say, our front-facing organizations. Was it receptive to some of the ideas that you have? Were we responsive? And I think that provides us both internally as a continuing check and balance point, and also for the community to be able to engage with us on an ongoing basis as we try to do that cycle of continuous improvement.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So let's go down the road, and now this would be Commissioner Stokes.
So many good ones, it's hard to choose.
And actually, if the answer is short and the opportunity for a second question, that's okay too.
Great, I'm gonna go with this one for now. Tell us how you would handle a situation where we as a commission want to pursue a course of action that your professional experience tells you is not prudent.
Ooh, that's,
Yeah, I know.
well, I've never had that one before. So yeah, I think it's going to be through a conversation. So let's say that occurred at the dais. What you'd want to be able to do is see whether or not there's a consensus. And what you would say is, can you give us or me an opportunity to think through how we'll be able to accomplish the task that you've set forward for us? And then I think it would provide me then with the opportunity to meet with you individually to express where I have a concern as to the direction that you're asking for us to take and why there may be a better method to be able to reach your ultimate goal, but not necessarily in the manner in which that's being proposed. If it's a goal issue, that hopefully comes out of our strategic plan. And then for me, even though I may have a disagreement, it may be that we're all moving in the same direction. And that we say, how can we then do what's needed to be able to get there, but having provided you with that reservation. But that reservation ought not to not have us go forward. So I think it's a two-track approach. It's being able to talk with you individually about where my concern is and see whether or not it could be revisited. But if it's something that absolutely you feel needs to be done, you've heard our concern, and then it would be for us to rally how it is that we can best put our foot forward to make that happen. And then keep you apprised of any stumbling blocks that we thought might occur, to be able to say, here's the reasons why we thought this may not have been a good idea, and here's how we might be able to rethink and adjust how it is that we move forward. So I think it's being able to keep that communication open as we go forward. I think it's the best way to be able to address an issue such as that.
So this is related. So just how in general do you propose to keep commission members informed so we're not surprised by any of the issues or projects or things that you're working on?
I think a lot of that has to do with being prepared as staff. That would be our responsibility to be able to be sure that the issues that are coming forward are fully vetted to the best of our ability and being able to create a master schedule. So a major issue schedule is one of the things that I've used in the past that's been successful, in which most of the time those are planning or public initiatives that come forward, that you're able to track those through the planning process, knowing how it's going to move, and then knowing what commission meeting that's being tabled for. So as you start to outline what's happening inside of those, inside of contracts, inside of other issues that are coming forward, it gives me an opportunity to meet with you individually to keep you apprised of where we are in the process, so that we don't clog up an agenda with many items that are difficult that then takes till midnight to be able to work our way through. And then other times, you're done in an hour and a half because not much was going on. So that's part of a managing issue that I think we can do internally. And then being prepared is for us to then have that conversation of what we think the issues are and the sticking points, to be able to get your feedback on those issues and sticking points, for us to resolve those issues and sticking points, and then be able to put those on the agenda. So then as you collaborate and have that conversation, at least you're on the same page as what the conversations are. So that helps you, I think, then make better decisions. So a lot of that weight would be on us to be able to keep you totally informed. So it's not one of those, I have the agenda packet on, let's pick a Wednesday before the Tuesday meeting. And I have the Wednesday, I got the weekend. I'm probably going to meet with you that Monday, and then I come. That's hard.
Yeah.
And that's hard on staff. So we kind of know that's been sitting out there. So what is it that we've been doing to communicate with you as commissioners, how we communicated with the public, that these things are coming down the pike, how we've gotten that feedback. So you're not surprised, or we're not surprised when the room is flooded.
I'm sorry, that's the 4 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go next, just I'm in line. Tell us about a bond issue that you worked on and represented your government for.
There's been one in particular, it's at the state level. We were working with Monroe County on water quality issues and
Water quality?
water quality issues. They needed to be able to connect septic systems to a sewer system. So that was working with the Key West Aqueduct Authority and Monroe County, $40 million bond issue through the state of Florida to be able to have that implementation. We followed that up. 2 years later, I wound up being out of office at that time, but was $200 million appropriation. So we had an authorization, but not an appropriations.
And the first, the amount of the first one that you mentioned?
$40 million.
40 million, okay.
I just left Collier County. I was not personally involved, but what we did there was a $60 million bond initiative for stormwater. We have presented a stormwater fee that did not pass the commission ultimately, but we were able to demonstrate that we could implement $17 million worth of work per year. And that gave our finance folks the comfort level to move forward with a $60 million bond initiative. So it'll be 20 million over 3 years.
Okay, great. Now, we have a very involved residents group in our city. We are they're very involved in the government. How would you address the needs of the citizens, not the committee? Just how would you address a very active citizenry?
Being able to do outreach and contact. I had it last night, a great opportunity to meet with presidents of a neighborhood association. They talk in terms of when they meet. And said that that's something that I'm used to being able to do, to be able to keep heads of those organizations informed. And then I also believe it's being able to create partnerships and conversations with civic organizations and nonprofits to pull them in as stakeholders as to the kinds of things that we're interested in doing and seeing how we can create relationship and partnership as an extension of our staff's ability to be able to be out in the community having conversations.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Commissioner McBoy.
All right, so we're working off of a written question here. We are looking for a city manager who can see over the horizon, meaning someone who can look into the future, anticipate what will be needed for the city of Lake Worth Beach to enhance our reputation as a leading and unusual community, as well as foresee problems that might occur and take actions to prevent those problems from occurring. Please give us an example of how you've done that in one of your past positions.
Oh, let's say we can talk in terms of downtown development, Pensacola, a town that had contracted 7% between 2000 and 2010 while the state was growing at 1,000 people per day. And the question was, how do you revitalize the downtown when you're losing that level of population? So it's being able to focus over the horizon on how do you attract the 25 to 42-year-old cohort to your community and engage them in activity that wants them to be able to stay. How do you take new people who come to your community who leave after 7 years because they don't find that there's an opportunity for them to move forward? So we created an enlivening public spaces program to be able to take those civic areas and be able to create activities in those. It was not just for the recreational component, but it was for a business aspect. So we tied the business to that. We did a program in which we brought folks down from Atlanta with a large inflatable screen. Had 700 folks to attend that night program. Local businesses brought their fares and food to that. So in an area that when I had first got there had a vacancy rate of 85% in their downtown area after 2.5, and the newspaper said, is that tumbleweed that's going down Palafox? When I left 2.5 years later, there was only 2,400 square foot of space left in the downtown. So I'm excited about the opportunities to be able to do those kinds of things, seeing beyond the horizon. Also being able to work with the CRA, I wore that hat as well, in which you can take an issue such as their port and be able to attract a oil services company because you know there's going to be drilling out in the Gulf. So to attract them so they don't have to go all the way down to Mobile Bay. That was $6 million $6 million of economic activity in 6 months.
Do I have time for follow-up?
Until Melissa speaks.
What would you do to ensure that we stay different, given the development pressures on South Florida from other parts of South Florida, other towns in range?
I think that is being able to continue to focus and emphasize on the unique character of the community. The fact that you have small businesses, small restaurants, small shops, small crafts, artisans, that is the core of the community. And then from that, all other things grow. And I think with that level of consistency in our comprehensive plan, in our conversations, that's how we're able to maintain that uniqueness that people have moved to Lake Worth for, as well as addressing that future horizon that you're talking about as to how do we get from where we are to where we need to be. So if we don't lose that sense of that neighborhoodness is what you describe as your community, focus on the neighborhoods and what happens there, I think the new development through your comprehensive plan and through your documents, the business community has a sense of the direction that you're going, and then they want to align their development and their processes with yours, rather than necessarily saying, let me see how I can find 3 votes to be able to move in a different direction. That it's in their interest and our interest for us to be together, moving together as a commission and a community.
Thank you. Thank you.
You done, sir?
Yeah.
Hi, Mr. Cohen.
Bye.
How are you?
Great.
So tell us what role performance evaluations should play in city government.
I think they provide a limited useful measure of how well staff and quote management is doing, because oftentimes some of the things that you can't capture are the unknowns. So it's let me use it as a football analogy. I can talk in terms of how fast.
We did pay our light bill.
As I say, geez,
He's like, what the heck's going on?
I said, am I getting the hook already?
No.
So, but it provides a benchmark, you know, to be able to see what it is that's being accomplished, and that's what those evaluations do. But there's also the intangibles that oftentimes are not captured in that. Leadership skills and abilities are oftentimes not captured or coded in an evaluation. How it is that you present yourself and how well you interact with your friends and neighbors oftentimes aren't captured that way. So I think it's being able to have a holistic approach and not only look at the evaluation, because clearly we can do the things that will check those boxes and we kind of go, yeah, you know, I'm good. I did the things that are on the evaluation. But oftentimes what you're looking for is more. You're looking for us to exceed those expectations. And so I think that's a balance. Clearly, you know, we're all open to being able to be criticized, to be able to improve. And that's what we talked about earlier, which is how do you get that feedback from the community on an ongoing basis so that every day we're trying to exceed what it is that you're expecting.
Okay, and in reference to that, how do you assess the performance of your employees? And do you believe in succession planning?
Yes, because it's important to be able to provide employees with the vision of where their future lies. And being able to create those steps to be able to help them get there. So an example is, you know, if you get more certifications, you're able to then oftentimes move to the next level. And where I just left, I call it the shirt and tie guys. I'm one of them, you know, so if you got the shirt and tie and you do the continuing education, attorneys, architects, others, you know, we pay for that. The county, cities, we pay for those things. But the question I asked was, well, why don't we pay for the person who gets a GED? That's life transformation for that worker, line worker out there who gets the GED, first time high school graduate in their family. And what does that mean? So we put in a program that says, yes, if you get a GED, we'll help you do that. We'll help you pay for that. We'll partner with the school district for English as a second language. As a matter of fact, we'll also pay for you to learn Spanish so that you can communicate with your employees a little bit better. So providing those step and processes keeps people excited about being able to work in the organization. And when you have difficulty sometimes being able to do that through enumeration, then these are the other things that you can do in order to keep people tied to your organization. And then sometimes when they leave in huge organizations, it's just down the road to another department, you can always pull them back. Or if they leave your agency in total, you stay in contact with them because you never know when there's an opportunity that they can come back with a different skill set. So we would have folks that would leave and go to Lee County. We kept an eye on them. And when we heard that maybe they weren't happy, we were able to provide them with a promoted position if they came back to Collier. So leaving, we know who you are. We know where you live. We'll stay in contact with you because you're of value. And if we can't make it work now, hold that thought. There may be an opportunity for us to work together sometime down the road.
Okay, great.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, have you been keeping track of how many minutes he has left in his 30 minutes? It's all
Okay,
math.
so I can't have two timers go at the same
Oh,
time.
fine. You're so.
But you've caught up quite a bit. You're not really that far behind. So if you want to give him 3 minutes, he would have more than enough, or 4 minutes to make a closing statement. I can time however long you'd like.
Well, let's do 4 minutes. 4 minutes?
Oh, closing? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I thought there was more questions. Oh,
No. We've done.
I thought there was more time because of the lights,
Yeah. Recharge the battery.
That's kind of like Congress. I reclaim my time,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
paused it during the light shut
Oh,
off.
super. Okay. So that eats into my 3. I don't need the 4 minutes, but this has been a great experience and opportunity. I really thank you for the opportunity to present to you and through this, through the citizens of here in Lake Worth. And what I want to say is that I think you can have confidence in me to be able to help you move in the direction that you believe the city needs to go. And that goes back to that question that you asked earlier, which is what happens if, you get a policy, the direction that might be different than your professional judgment. Well, you've lived longer here than I have. I understand, I think, the community, but it's being able to have that ongoing engagement and conversations. And that's what I think I've been able to do over my career. And that's why I said that using an electrical system analogy, I'm amped up to be here. Thank you.
And we do have one.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right.
And you are welcome to hang out. You are welcome to go back to Key West.
Yeah.
It's totally up to you.
Yeah. We were advised that, probably I'll say adieu and hopefully we'll see you in the future.
Have a safe trip.
All right.
Thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate your effort.
Let's,
Or you can hang around in Lakewood Beach.
Thank you.
He's going to Key West.
I'd rather be in Lakewood Beach.
I know. I always describe Lake Worth Beach as Key West without the 5-hour ride.
There you go.
5 hours? Which route you taking?
I'm a safe driver. Okay.
I thought he lives in Naples.
Yeah, but he's staying in Key West right now. So our next person is Miss Davis. And hopefully Steve will bring her in.
Ready for
Miss Davis.
Just so I know, are we Ms. Davis? Miss Davis?
I always use Ms.
I misheard. I
Yeah, no.
do.
She has a husband in education.
Right. I have a husband in retirement.
I do know that. I know that too.
I just wanted the others to make sure, yeah.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Make yourself
This is
comfortable.
James, by the way. I heard you ask a question.
Having a discussion about how you would be dressed.
Oh. Ms. or Mrs. he was asking.
Mrs., but I go by Carmen.
What's your name?
I would love that.
What did you say, Herman?
I said, or city manager.
Or city manager, there you go. All right, so what we're doing,
If I take-
we've got a little device here to try to keep things on, please, on track here. Each one of us, we've picked a question from this list of prepared questions that we're gonna ask you, so it's pretty consistent questions. And you've got about 4 minutes for each question, and it actually doesn't take as long as that. And then at the end, you have the opportunity like a 4-minute little closing argument. A little address. Kim, would you like to start?
Oh, sure, I'll start. Tell us about how you would handle a situation where we as a commission want to pursue a course of action that your professional experience tells you is not prudent.
Thank you for that question. Certainly, as city manager, that is certainly a possibility. I certainly believe in transparency, accurate information, as well as providing information, particularly that may come from our department heads. I consider department heads subject matter experts. And so certainly as we evaluated issues that are brought from the commission, we will certainly provide information, recommendations, and insights on issues that you are embarking upon. And I believe that it's very important to make sure that you are given information that is certainly holistic and addresses the issue so that you can make informed decisions. And so there are times that information may not line up with the desired direction of the commission, but I believe that's very important. So, but there are times when information that comes forth to the commission may not line up with the initial thoughts. And sometimes it works that information or decisions can work around those issues and come together as a collaborative thinking on how to address a matter in an area that will be most productive as well as effective for the city.
Okay, great. And then I think we each had a question, a follow-up question.
Yeah, it's fine. As long as you got time, we're fine.
It's pretty much related, but how do you propose to keep the commission members informed so we're not surprised by any of the issues or projects that you're dealing with?
That's very important as well, that you receive timely and accurate information and up-to-date information as it relates to what's happening in each department. And so I would like to meet individually with each of the commission on a regular basis, whether that be in person, by phone, or by email, whichever the preference is. Each person may have a preferred way to communicate. Also, I would like to keep the board as a whole, the commission as a whole, informed by providing updated information from each department. So I have operated in my previous experience by receiving regular information from the departments and providing a periodic document that will give you an update on what's happening in the different communities, and not only that, in the different departments.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, my turn. Tell us about a bond issue that you've worked on and you represented your government for.
Yes. As in my capacity as county administrator in Hinds County, Mississippi, I worked on a number of bond issues. One of the largest bond issues we had was a $40 million infrastructure bond issue. Actually, it came out to about a $44 million bond issue for our road, bridges, and other capital improvement projects.
Okay. And was that did it have to get a referendum passed by the citizens?
No, there was no referendum required for that particular bond issue.
Okay, great. And then our residents, and you may have learned a little bit about this last night, we have a very involved residents in our government, and I'm wondering how you will address the needs and concerns of, the citizens at large.
Oh, yes. I think it's very important to be customer oriented, citizen oriented, and focused. That is the heart of the city. And so I believe that we should address the needs, be in constant conversations with the community, meet regularly with the community to understand the needs. I certainly would like to, as city manager, work very closely with each community, meet regularly. I think it's important that they're engaged in the issues of the city, and that we also reach out to them where they are. So I would love to have frequent meetings with the community, have a pulse on the issues that are happening in the communities, as well as the needs that they may be facing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, that's my two questions. So I'll move on to Commissioner McBoy.
All right, we'll read you my questions from our list here. We are looking for a city manager who can see, quote, over the horizon, meaning someone who can look into the future, anticipating what will be needed for the city of Lake Woods Beach, in particular to enhance our reputation as a leading, unusual community, as well as foresee problems that might occur and take actions to prevent those problems from occurring. Please give us an example of how you have done that in one of your past positions.
Okay, as county administrator with Hinds County, I was appointed by a 5-member board of supervisors. And so one of the directions that we embarked on is coming together and creating a strategic plan. and making sure that we are setting priorities for the community and the direction for the community. So I think it's very important that a strategic plan, a vision, or some type of priority is placed on how we move forward in the community, and use that direction and that strategic plan to drive our how we move forward. And that I find that to be very important, not only from us knowing the direction and how we are going to face the growth of the community or the city, it also gives our department heads and staff the focus in which they are now engaged with to implement the policies and directions of the commission. So it's very important to know what we're doing, where we're going, and how we want to identify ourselves so that we know how to vision ourselves in the future and what we need to reach for.
Okay. Sort of a related follow-up. How would you keep our community different from other cities in South Florida?
That's an interesting question. How will I keep our community different from the others? That's a difficult question, because when I hear that question in my head, I hear, how do we stand out from other communities in South Florida? And I think that's key. Lake Beach is a very unique community, and I think that it's a gem in South Florida. And I believe that if we market, highlight, and celebrate who we are as Lake Worth Beach, that will address that issue of standing out and being different from the other communities.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Maliga?
Yes, ma'am. Tell us what role performance evaluations should play in city government.
I think it's very important. I believe generally employees want feedback in how they're performing and how they can improve. One of my major roles as county administrator in Hinds County is making sure that employees are accessible to professional development. And the evaluation process is part of that. When you're evaluating your staff to ensure that they are knowing where they are meeting expectations, are they exceeding expectations? Also knowing where they stand as far as professional development, being enriched and encouraged to move forward in what they do. So professional performance feedback is very important, and whether formal or informal, I think that is necessary on a regular basis.
Okay, follow-up question is, how do you assess the performance of your employees, and do you believe in succession planning?
Oh, succession planning is very important. Yes, I do. I have implemented performance evaluations and also put together a succession plan. And especially when you have a department that is staffed with a very low number of people, and things happen. I can imagine especially during this unfortunate pandemic that we're all challenged with, and trying to make sure that the city operations continue. Succession planning is necessary. You definitely want to be prepared for continuity of services, because of course, city government does not stop. We are to continue to provide services for our citizens and our businesses, and we want to make sure that happens. So in order to do that, succession planning is necessary. I also implemented cross-training, of course, making sure that the institutional knowledge is shared among departments and even across departments that are related, and so that we can continue services should emergencies occur.
That's what I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're just like doing really well with time here.
Christy's actually impressed over there.
Usually prattle on and on.
We can stick to it, right?
So why don't you take 4 minutes, something like that?
Oh, wait, did Herman go?
Oh, Herman, I'm so sorry.
Why do you forget me?
Who could forget Herman?
Listen, I called it out.
Apparently I just did.
And I followed directions so well. That
So well.
Read this. What kind of relationships do you plan to have with the city's senior managers, and how will you establish that? I'm going to throw in citizens, the community as well. And then the follow-up question is, how do you hold the staff accountable
Okay,
for results?
thank you for that question. I believe that building relationship with the senior staff is very important because they will be carrying out and leading their departments and carrying out the policies and directions of the commission. And so I believe that carrying that information to them and allowing them the ability to be very informed as to what they are to achieve and the goals they are to meet should be communicated, which requires regular meetings. And so how I've done that in the past is I have monthly meetings, if not every other month, meeting with the department heads to not only communicate the information that I receive from the board and direction, also to create a team environment. I believe in a team environment and a cohesive team so that one, we can work in harmony to make sure we meet the goals, but also work together as a team to collectively put our heads together to be creative and very innovative in ideas. I believe in collective thinking, a diverse of thinking, and I think that fosters a success among the team and only efficiencies and progress within the community.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. I'm sorry,
Your
Commissioner.
results.
Accountability. You
Yeah.
also talked about accountability, and yes, and results. That's right.
When?
Maybe, I don't know.
But I want to address the accountability piece. Accountability is very important. So that's what's important about providing information, ensuring expectations are communicated so that accountability is also monitored and adhered to. And so we must expect from our staff. And so I believe that makes it a safe environment for everyone because everyone wants to know what's expected of them and what happens if the expectations are not met. And that ties in the professional performance evaluations as well as professional development. And so that's very important to enrich the staff and making sure they're on task.
Excellent. Thank you.
That's it.
That was me.
All right, thank you. I apologize, Mr. Robinson.
You know.
I will never
So
forget.
quiet over there.
But that's it. Normally he's just chattering away.
That's a good question.
So now you have, about 4 minutes, 3-4 minutes to just give us a last parting comment.
Well, first, I want to say I am so excited about being here. I have enjoyed my time reviewing the city and meeting the staff and meeting the commission and the mayor. And I find it a privilege. I count it a privilege in being here, and I'm very humbled in this experience. And so first and foremost, I want to thank you for this opportunity to be before you. I believe my past experience, my over 20 years of local government management and involvement will be an asset to Lake Worth Beach. I have worked as a city planner. I have worked as a county administrator for Hinds County, Mississippi, and I currently work for a nonprofit called Jackson Medical Mall Foundation in the city of Jackson. And with those combined experiences in serving the community, I believe that I will be one that will engage strongly with the community because that is my heart. I feel that I'm a person who is involved with the community and have a heart for the community, and I believe local government is certainly the essence of meeting the needs of the people. And so I believe I will bring that experience with you and the experience in programming, my experience with development and the growth of a community, as well as the services and programs from my county experience and managing over 13 departments. And so I understand the complexity of that, and I have the experience to bring for you to move this forward. And so I thank you so much, and I look forward to working with you should I be selected.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. Have a safe trip back
I appreciate that.
and enjoy our town for a few hours before you have to go to the airport.
I definitely will.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Good
Good
night.
job.
Thank you.
Now we have a break.
Great.
Break me up.
15-minute
piece of
break.
that Kit Kat bar. Oh, we don't have any of those.
Are they listening to the other interviews?
What?
I don't believe so.
Oh, okay.
It's being
Do you want to take a break or want to keep going?
I would like to just keep going because then hopefully,
Right, no, I agree. It's not been that long. It's only been an hour.
yeah.
And we're moving
Go much
quite along
longer
pretty
than that.
successfully. So the next person up would be Mr. Hutchka.
Is it Hutka, Hutka?
I said Hutchka.
Potato.
Potato.
Oh.
Oh, wee, oh, wee, oh. That was a great song.
We,
Done by Morris Day and the Time.
uh,
A long time ago. I'm talking like 80s. I'm aging
I
myself.
wasn't born in.
How are we doing?
we're doing good. It's only 2:00.
You know what song I'm talking about, right?
Which-
Morris Day and the Time. Oh, wee, oh, wee. Again, I'm from Detroit. Never mind.
Yeah, I know what that is. No, I know what that is.
Right? And, but,
Well, we're gonna talk amongst ourselves afterwards. right?
yeah.
Yes.
I have some swampland for sale too.
No, I talk about this stuff so we don't talk about anything else and get in trouble. So talking about Morris Day and the Time, can't get in trouble for that.
Very tempting. Very tempting. Hello.
You are the next contestant. The Price is Right.
It's over.
Okay.
All right. That was a fast break.
We decided
We
decided not to take a break. I think we're a pretty tough crew. We're pretty at it.
Well, I don't want to do this if you're all tuckered out.
No. We are ready to go.
Okay.
So what we've done is each one of us is going to ask you 1 or 2 questions lasting about 4 minutes. And then at the end, you've got about 4 minutes, because we've got like half an hour, about 4 minutes. You just give us your closing statement and
Okay.
that sort of thing. So, and we picked randomly. I'm going to start. It's my turn to start. And these are going to be sort of out of the air, but that's okay. So my first question to you is, tell us about a bond issue that you worked on and represented a government for.
Well, I can do better than that. I worked on Wall Street for a couple of years for Standard & Poor's, rating everyone else's bond.
When was that?
87, 88. Same
Okay.
business though, hasn't changed too much.
Right.
So I learned lots of different financing methods.
Mhm.
Learned a lot of things that worked, a lot of things that didn't work. Know the relationship between your bond advisor, your financial advisor, and city proper.
Mhm.
I know how they make money. I know how they can steer you right, steer you wrong. But then I also, rating bonds, if you've been through the process, we looked at all manner of things, starting with your budget, capital plan and budget. We looked at the general area ability to repay the debt, which includes your operating practices, support from the community, decisions, political decisions. Even back in those days had news clipping services to see how the public was responding to.
Have you represented a government in a bond issuance?
And everyone I worked for, and every agency I worked for, both GO and utility bonds, I increased the bond rating for every agency on my resume.
What's the largest bond you've been involved with?
But that's,
More than you
Sure.
do. 400 million.
400 million?
Yeah, I've worked, and then not just selling the bonds, but then executing the programs, getting grant monies, in some cases 3-to-1 matches against our own money, and have led all aspects of some of the largest capital programs in the country.
Okay.
So I know by design, I've dedicated not just my education, but my actual hands-on experience to all aspects of finance and capital construction.
Thank you. My next question is, we have a very active citizenry in Lake Worth. They're very involved in the government. There's a lot of opinions, there's a lot of meetings, there's a lot of chit chat amongst ourselves. How would you address the needs and concerns of our citizens?
Listen to them. I was amazed last night. I found myself talking to 2 of your neighborhood association presidents, and it was a challenge. I know based on history, we have a meeting once a month. Do you ever see yourself attending? I said, yeah, every month if you want me to.
Mhm.
Oh, well, and they couldn't believe the answer. And I said, ooh, see, a lot of this is easy. That's a no-brainer decision, and it's very easy to attend their meeting. And with my experience in doing those things, it's very easy for me to sit through the meeting,
listen to their issues, and help them where we can. I've done it my entire career. I've already warned you, when you Google my name, you'll see some other guy putting political junk out there. But the rest of it is all me, and you'll see down in Broward County with all the big things going on and all. I found out my staff, bless them, weren't doing a really good job for one of the neighborhoods. There was a condominium complex across the street from our South Courthouse. And suddenly overnight, the air handlers got too loud, really loud. And through the night, and they were actually waking up in the middle of the night to the noise from our building. And I found out staff wasn't handling it very well at all. And what was worse is they weren't operating the building properly. And so I worked with these people, and it was Howard, help me, Howard. Local TV station, one of those.
Yeah.
And he was ready. Oh, he was ready to kill us. He was ready to make a public display. And he ended up, it was very complimentary. And the lady from the condo association was, thank you, God bless you.
Okay.
But that's the type of thing. That's one example.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that's time.
That's how it's my time. That's
Okay, thank you.
our fearless leader, our clerk. She keeps us in line.
There she is.
Thank you. Now, Commissioner McVoy, it's your turn.
So, written question that we have here. We are looking for a city manager who can see over the horizon, meaning someone who can look into the future, anticipate what will be needed for the city of Lake Forest Beach to enhance our reputation as a leading and unusual community, as well as foresee problems that might occur and take actions that will prevent those problems from occurring. Please give us an example of how you've done that in one of your past positions.
I have a unique perspective because I've worked for Florida governments, county governments that provided city services, large unincorporated areas, provided water, sewer, planning, zoning, permitting, okay? And in 3 different communities in the last 30 years, I've seen the before, the during, and the aftermath of rampant growth, private growth. Okay, the before was Osceola County, when they were just exploding because of Disney. Rural community, ranchers, there for decades, for generations, weren't happy about the growth taking place. One of the highest growth areas in the country. And they weren't happy about it. But I was there at the beginning and helped steer that very successfully. When I worked for Hillsborough County early in my career, it was during their massive growth, particularly in the unincorporated area. We were providing more services, more population than the actual city of Tampa, because they couldn't annex as fast as they needed. And then, of course, in South Florida, 11 years for Broward County, saw the aftermath of that huge growth, as have you. And looking at the mistakes that were made, not just by the private sector, but by local governments in the growth spurts from yesteryear. My experience in all 3 areas has been, and I'll spill the beans on my closing remarks. I not only have experience in these areas, including growth management, development review, economic development, actually reaching out and getting the very best businesses to invest in the community. I not only have experience, I have success, which a lot of people in government can't say that. You know, people in government, I had the name on my door. I sat on the desk for so many years. There are a lot of people in government who make that claim. A lot of experience. I was in the job. What did you do? What were your successes? And I've tried on my resume, and I can go into detail here as time allows. I've had great accomplishments, successes in helping communities before, during, and after these growth spurts. Work with the private sector and be more than you are currently. Particularly in downtown, you have a lot of empty storefronts. You have a lot of I hear all about the great potential of Lake Worth Beach. Have to add the beach, right? Lake Worth Beach. Opportunity doesn't knock. I don't care what the saying is. Opportunity doesn't come and knock at your door. You have to go out and find it, and you have to create it. And that's how you'll fill up your storefronts downtown. And again, I not only have experience, I have great success in a very similar community. Same size, same issues, similar history. And we filled up the storefronts. That's one example.
Sort of related follow-up, but if I still have time.
Yeah.
How would you keep our community different from other cities in South Florida?
First and foremost, by providing basic services efficiently and effectively with great customer service. Provide a working environment for your staff. I'm hearing from all sides about the turnover, vacancies. That's not a good sign. That's easily curable. They had the same problem in Broward County Public Works before I started. I continued in all the other departments, not in Public Works. We were solid. We were steady. People liked working there. That's first and foremost how we would differentiate. And then as far as attracting good businesses and good investments,
Sorry, that's time.
Oh, that's time.
Oh, man.
That's time for Commissioner.
Scares the crap out of me every time.
she's very strict, isn't she?
She's very strict. She has to be with us. We're like a herd of cats.
One of these days, if I have a heart attack, you're gonna.
It's very loud when she says that.
Every time.
I could do a more soothing tone if you'd like, Commissioner.
That would be amazing, like a spa or like a chill out.
Hey, if you're going to crack jokes, it's on your time, you know.
Yes.
All right, so my question is, tell us what role performance evaluations should play in city government.
Well, again, differentiations from other governments in the area, other governments across the country. Here's how it usually works. Here's scenario A. George, come on in. I'm sorry I'm a bit late here. Your annual evaluation I should have done 11 months ago, but we're going to do it now. So a year and a half ago, you said something in the meeting that some people took offense to. And, you promised that you'd deliver the numbers on this particular program, and the program isn't accomplished yet, and I don't see the numbers. And therefore, I'm going to score you here and here and here. And George is sitting there going, oh, I didn't know. I don't even know what meeting you're talking about. And I thought we knew where we were going with the program, lots of changes, and I knew you realized that we couldn't deliver on the original schedule. Gee, it's all a surprise. And a lot of managers think, oh, it's an opportunity you make a list, and every year and a half, 2 years, you sit down with an employee and you blast them. That's not how I do business. Annual evaluations are very important, but it's an opportunity to sit down and summarize and say, remember how we talked about this issue? Remember how we worked together on this program? You know how you've shown great progress. You deal with the issues with employees every single day, all through the year. You don't wait. And for that matter, I'd say the same thing about union negotiations. I know managers, HR directors, public works directors, they keep a list. Well, this is going on to the list for negotiating with the unions. What's on there? Well, steel-toed boots. Why is that an issue? Well, we don't pay enough for steel-toed boots, and then we force them to do, and they're not doing the steel-toed boots, they're doing the regular work shoes. And it's a big, just pay them for the damn steel-toed boots. What's the issue? Well, we're waiting for the contract negotiations because we don't wait until the end of the year or the end of a 2-year period. You address those issues on a regular basis. Contract negotiations, very important, and don't get me wrong, very important, very serious. Annual evaluations, very important, very serious, but nothing in either of those should be a surprise.
Okay, thank you for that. How do you assess the performance of your employees? You kind of just answered that. And do you believe in succession planning?
I do to a certain point. Again, this is how it usually works. You pick out Susan and you say, Susan and the world, when I retire, Susan will replace me. Well, what does that mean to everybody else in the division? Chopped liver? What does that mean to employees that are working there hoping to learn more, to gain experience and work their way up the ladder, they're going to quit because they know they'll never have an opportunity to take the ball. They did that in Broward County. I'll tell you how I reacted. They came through in a big motivation.
It's okay, the lights just go out.
On time.
All right. There was a big movement. Everybody put together a huge plan, 40 pages, typewritten, your succession planning. And I talked to everybody, and except for the people who did not want to be on the list, I put everybody who was in the second and third levels for every job. And I heard back about it. Were you smart? I said, no, every person that works here, unless they specifically told me they don't want to be considered at any time to be a division director, should be on that list. Well, you know, you have to go through training with them and conferences with everybody you put on. Yeah, we do that all the time. Succession planning should be everybody who works for the city of Lake Worth Beach should know that they have a possibility of moving up the ladder. If they do well, if they train themselves and follow our direction.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, that's time.
Okay,
Hey, that was
Commissioner Robinson, you're up.
Same question, what kind of relationship do you plan to have with the city senior managers, and how will you establish it? And I want to include the citizens as well. And the follow-up is to how do you hold them accountable for results?
well, good people who work in local government, who are good at their jobs, who are in the right positions, don't need a lot of management. They need support. They need teamwork. We need to make sure we're giving them the right resources to fully accomplish the mission. And they need direction. And a lot of direction comes from you. Policy direction comes from you all as a board. But really good people don't need to be managed. They don't need to be constrained and held back. As a matter of fact, it just frustrates them. And they say, 5 o'clock, I'm done. I don't need this. And they go home night after night, all frustrated. Every job I've taken, I inherited a group like that. And I turned it around where, well, what do I call it? Enabled them. I don't like using those canned words. But I worked with them and I respected their intelligence. I respected their experience. They were all more expert in their fields than I will be. I've become something of a generalist over the years. And so I respect their opinions, their advice, their input. Certainly as a new guy, I respect their history and their knowledge of the history of all the events. And with the right direction and the right support, they'll bloom and blossom like they never have in their career, because it doesn't usually happen that way. Most people feel constrained and held back. What a shame. But that's how I work with my direct reports, and that's how I encourage them to work with their staff as well.
And that incorporates accountability.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you know, accountability kind of it loads the equation to say that you must do this, and I turn it around. They want to do the right thing. They want to succeed. They want to get your pool back online. Why isn't it? That's my job to figure out and to help them succeed in every mission, every project, every program. Yeah, accountability is too strong. I hold that for outside vendors. We make them accountable because they're profit driven. They're not driven on doing not directly a fantastic job or being rewarded with honor for their work. Our staff is though.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Stokes.
So tell us how you would handle a situation where we as a commission want to pursue a course of action that your professional experience tells you is not prudent.
I'd say we had a horrible miscommunication for months preceding that. It shouldn't work that way. It shouldn't work that way. Particularly in the beginning, you know the issues better than I do, and I'll be learning from you. But after a while, we'll turn that corner very quickly where staff and I should know the issues at least the majority of the issues, at least the basics, more than you. And we'll be bringing you the issues as they develop, as we see them, training you, not training you, but briefing you on what's going on and bringing to you, whether it's a workshop for large issues, large and difficult to define issues, or specific agenda items for your meetings. We'll be bringing you the issues. Now, it's a two-way street. You can come to me and say, I just learned there's this problem. We'll put it into the mix. But long before you get to the point of telling me, you need to do this, and me saying, I don't agree with that, we'll have good discussions where we're both understanding the issues and we'll both agree on what the issue is and what some of the best solutions are. See, it's a little hard to describe, but when you're describing a scenario of a government that's really not working right, particularly not a council manager government, something went wildly off the tracks.
Okay. And then how do you propose to keep the commission members informed so we're not surprised by any of the issues or projects that you're dealing with?
Talk to you all the time. Excuse me, nothing ruins a day worse than when a reporter calls you and asks you about something going on and you don't know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
The reporter knows before you. That's embarrassing and it's damaging. I can't guarantee every time, but within all possibilities, within my ability, I'll make sure that you all are briefed. I mean, I've spent a good part of my life running out the door to contact the water department because there's a leak on Main Street, to work with them, talking to my assistant saying, please call all the commissioners and make sure they know about this.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I get the situation handled, I call back to the assistant and say, did you reach everybody? All but one, and she's on vacation in Bahamas. Can't reach her. Good. Keep trying. So that's how that works. The bigger issues, every agenda item, every issue, every workshop you have, every time you have a meeting, you will, and I promise you this, I pledge this, you will have full briefings on every item on that agenda. The background, all the options, pros and cons, the cost benefit, strong recommendation. I'll have your input by that point. We'll bake that in because you're all professionals in different fields. And all your questions will be answered, so that you can walk into these meetings with and make well-informed decisions and have really good discussions that are based on the merits of the issue. I'm waiting for
I
her.
know, she's
That's good. Good.
she's keeping us in suspense. You don't have to wait for the buzzer.
You don't have to, you can move on.
But now it's your opportunity to just, give us your closing remarks.
Okay, thank you. So I feel like I'm repeating myself because I talked to all of you on phone,
Sure.
Zoom, and then in person. But my whole life and career, since high school, since 9th grade, have been dedicated to public service. I don't want to sound corny, but I have two goals in life, in my entire life: help people and protect the environment. And that's it. It boils down to that. Also in high school, I realized that local government is where the action is, closest to the issues, closest to the public, where we can really get things done. And then I had a wild idea. I'd like to bring technical experience into government. I didn't study poli-sci. I studied civil engineering because most of the basic services you provide are based on civil engineering. Most of the permits you provide, development issues. It's a good starting point. It's not everything. And so I studied engineering. I worked as an engineer. I still have my PE license. And then I realized a lot of people, including my wife, would kid me, you're an engineer. I'm sure you're an engineer. I went back to school and studied everything that didn't look like engineering. And I studied planning to the point where I had a choice of master's in public administration or a master's in planning. I studied finance, worked, as I said, on Wall Street, rating municipal bonds. And I said, that's enough. Now I have the technical background where I can go into government and really know how to get things done. And since then, I've worked for a number of governments, mostly here in Florida. Also a city manager in an almost identical city, identical in size, identical in issues. The far from fully developed downtown area, lower unemployment, housing needs, a lot of the very same issues. And I'd like to finish, well, a couple of things. I always consider there's two levels of government. Basic services, and the goal there is efficiency, effectiveness, good customer service, providing a good work environment for our employees. And a lot of governments struggle to do that. But then there's this higher level, those things that go into the strategic plan. Economic development, downtown development, homelessness, housing, that very, very few local governments even address, let alone succeed at. You can go into city halls all across the country, all across South Florida, and you'll find a strategic plan up on the shelf. Big headlines after the workshop. They're really not working that hard, and they're not making a dent and succeeding at those issues. In my career, we did it. We had lots of successful accomplishments in those bigger issues. I've always felt local government can do so much more than it typically does. And I've done it. And I've done it right here in Florida. And I've done it right for a city manager for a very similar community. So I'll stop there before the timer runs out. But thank you. I very much, I'd like the opportunity to be your city manager.
Well, thank you very, very much for your time and your effort and coming up here and having to talk to all of us over and over again.
No, it's good. It's an important decision. So
Yeah, it is. It really is. So I thank you very much. We may make a decision today. That's our plan. And we'll let everybody know.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. I enjoyed meeting you.
Get back. Yeah, you don't have to go too far.
I told somebody, I think my car broke down on the way
You
here.
told me that, yeah.
So now I'm trying to sign up with Lyft so I can get a ride to the shop, to pick up my car.
Your car's up here somewhere?
No, my car's in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, good Lord.
I have a good mechanic, so I can't.
What kind of a car do you have?
A really old one. It's a Ford Explorer. I got a good deal because they were, I don't know, rolling over and burning or something like that.
I like when it was dangerous. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Take care.
So where do you want to go? Break that? Oh, no, we have one more.
Do you need a break?
Can I use the ladies' room?
Sure,
quickly?
go ahead. We're going to take a little 5-minute break.
We rearranged our break schedule.
Last but not least.
I just need a little nap.
Remind me not to go drinking with Sarah. She's at the ladies' room all the time.
Oh,
So, we're gonna break after Tria's then?
sure, we can take a break.
Hey, guys, your mics are hot.
Oh, thank you. Hey, Juan, how are you?
How are you?
Good.
Thank you.
Miss you.
Are you feeling
I'll be back Monday,
100%?
maybe with an eye patch.
Oh, man.
Oh, boy.
So you would say 85%?
Well, I operate at 120, Herman, so I'm back at 100.
That's what yeah.
I'm going to mute us.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, if everybody's ready, it is 2:34. You're unmuted. So we are ready to resume.
Yes, Mr. Trias is coming in.
Actually,
the
2
door.
minutes ahead of schedule.
We're ahead of you.
Can somebody write this down? This day in history?
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening, good evening, almost long day.
You're rushing.
Didn't sleep the night before evening at 2 o'clock.
All right. So, good afternoon. The way we're doing this is each one of us, because we have about a half an hour, each one of us is going to ask you a certain question, and you have about 4 minutes to answer. And sometimes it's 2 questions because it's a shorter answer. And then at the end, you've got about 4 minutes to give us your closing statements.
Thank you very much.
So we're going to start with Commissioner McCoy.
Okay. So you're looking for a city manager who can see over the horizon, meaning someone who can look into the future, anticipate what will be needed for the city of Lake Worth Beach to enhance our reputation as a leading, unusual community, as well as to foresee problems that might occur and take actions that will prevent those problems from occurring. Please give us an example of how you have done that in one of your past positions.
Well, I'm really, really happy to be here because I have a 30-year track record of quality and transparency doing great projects, which began here in Lake Worth Beach. And that's the example that I can mention as one that enhanced the quality of public spaces and the reputation of the place. And that was the project back in 1992, my first project. Imagine that, the first time that I got a chance to work with a city and with a complex set of different departments and different expertise. And the result was the reconstruction of Lake and Lucerne, plus a few other things, such as this beautiful median in front of City Hall, etc., which are still there after all this time in very good shape. I was very happy to see it again after all these years. So that was one example. What did I do? Well, I talked to the city. I tried to coordinate with the DOT. Then the DOT changed the project from milling and resurfacing to reconstruction. That gave an opportunity to reconstruct better with less lanes and more sidewalks and landscape and so on. So that's one example. Since then, I've done it many times. I got a chance to do it in Fort Pierce for 10 years. Fort Pierce, my favorite project, of course, the plaza at the waterfront, very nice project with very limited resources. And now I'm lucky to work in Coral Gables, which is a city that has great resources and is really an example of good planning, quality, and vision. So I've been lucky to do it in many ways and in many places. And that range of experiences, I think, makes me a person that wants to tackle this job. And I know that it's a very difficult job. Unlike other people, I do know what it takes to do this kind of stuff.
A related question, how would you keep our community different from other cities in South Florida?
Well, each community is unique, and at the same, there are many things that are shared. So what happens is that the tools, for example, historic preservation, the neighborhoods, that you've done such a good job already, making sure that everybody identifies each of those neighborhoods. And finding the balance, because the balance between new development and preservation is very important. If all you do is preserve, then you are not going to be as successful. If all you do is develop, then you're going to lose your soul and your unique characteristics and so on. So that's my thinking. This is a very different challenge than, for example, the challenge in further south in for example, in Coral Gables, where the issue is really big development. Here is a matter of preserving and making sure that we have the quality in the neighborhoods that enhance the overall quality of life. I think that should be the mission of the whole staff. And I think making that message clear that all of the things that everybody does, all of their professional expertise, all of the different very good people that you have working for you, they need to work towards creating a better place, towards quality of life for the community. And I think if we manage to do that, and if that is the ideas of the commission, what the commission wants to do, I think can be done.
Thank you.
Are you done, sir?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us what role performance evaluations should play in city government.
I think it's an ongoing process, and that has been always an issue, because I think when you do it once a year, it's not as useful as when you provide feedback as an ongoing effort. As a manager, I think you should be able to provide good and bad feedback to people constantly. And that's the only way to enhance the process. I think that anything else, in my experience, hasn't worked as well.
Okay, how do you assess the performance of your employees?
Whether they understand the mission, the overall mission, and whether they understand what role they play within that overall mission. Somebody who is very good at doing one thing, if he understands or she understands how that fits within the bigger picture, I think that's the most successful employee. And that is, as I said, that's an ongoing effort. That's not something that is easy to do. And it's an educational effort. It's also a training effort. Is a way of trying to keep track of the way that employees become part of a team. That's, in my view, that's the most important thing.
Okay, and do you believe in succession planning?
Well, in the public sector, that's very difficult to do, in the sense that, as you know, every job has to be advertised, etc. But I think it's a good idea to have some depth in the staffing, clearly.
Thank you.
Commissioner Robinson?
My question is, what kind of relationship do you plan to have with the city senior managers, and will you establish it? And the same thing with the citizens, to establish a relationship. And the follow-up is, and how do you hold them accountable for results?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. I think that the communication between the staff and the management is very important. It has to be an ongoing effort. But more importantly, the communication with the community is equally important. I mean, I've had a chance to work in places where that was important and in places where it wasn't. And I can tell you that it's better that the management understands, and also the commission sets that policy. The communication with the community, with different groups and different associations, is paramount. I constantly I do that myself a lot, in the sense that constantly I like to brag that anybody among my 50,000 residents can call me and schedule a meeting. And they do, actually, they do. So what happens is that, to me, that's very important, having that constant communication and feedback.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Commissioner Stokes.
So tell us how you would handle a situation where we as a commission want you to pursue a course of action that your professional experience tells you is not prudent.
Well, certainly I would advise you for my professional expertise and experience, and hopefully we could come up with a better solution. I mean, I think if we all focus on solutions, all of us, we end up with better outcomes at the end. Now, clearly, at the end of the day, the commission is the one that is going to have the last word, and whatever the commission decides, that's what will happen. But I will make my best effort to talk to you individually or as a group. Sometimes there's a need to have workshops and discuss, particularly when we're talking about big ideas, such as the vision for the future and those kinds of things. There may be very different ideas, and they may appear to be in conflict. But upon discussion, perhaps we can find a way to understand that maybe not everything is in conflict. Maybe there's a better solution.
Okay, and how do you propose to keep the commission members informed so we are not surprised by any of the issues or projects that you are dealing with?
Well, I don't know how you do it nowadays, but certainly I would have individual meetings with all of you for every agenda, prior to every agenda. And secondly, the transparency is one of the most important things. So the reason I say quality and transparency is that if the only thing I do is quality and nobody knows about it, that's the problem. That's exactly the problem. So you need to be able to have that transparency that anybody, any citizen can understand what's going on and offer opinions. Sometimes good, sometimes maybe not so good. It doesn't matter. They have to have that opportunity. And if you don't set up a process as a commission to allow for that, which I'm sure you're working on those things, then you won't be able to be as effective as if you do. I mean, that's my recommendation. And like I said, I think I have observed that this community has very involved citizens. Last night was an excellent example of that. And in fact, I felt like I was home. It's basically they felt like they could tell me the same basic things that usually tell me. So, and I think it's a good thing. And if I thought it was a bad thing, then I wouldn't be doing a good job. I think one has to understand that if somebody takes the time to complain about something, one should take the time to listen, because usually there's something there that needs to be understood.
Good.
Okay, my turn. Tell us about a bond issue that you worked on, that you represented the local government on.
A bond issue, that was typically not something that I would do personally, but I was involved in the design and the. For example, a recent one was the police and fire station that was built in Coral Gables. That was a result of a bond issue, and it was negotiated by the finance staff. However, the scope of the project, the scope of the work, basically the basic amount of money, etc., that's the role that I played in the project.
The design of it, essentially?
The design, but also the scope, in the sense that the scope was in terms of dollars and in terms of square footage, in terms of the size of project that the commission wanted to engage in. Again, it's a team effort. I mean, we all do what we do best and so on. So, but that was the last one I worked on.
Okay, but you've not been the person involved with them. Even in that scope you were, but. Okay.
In the scope, in other words, I was part of the team, but certainly I would not claim responsibility before.
Okay. And then, as you know, our residents are very involved in the government. And how would you address the needs and concerns of our citizens, our very involved citizens?
Well, one has to listen. And the issue is that we need to set up processes that allow for meaningful input. That is number one in the code of ethics of the AICP, the American Institute of Certified Planners. The fact that every stakeholder has to have an opportunity, a meaningful opportunity to provide input. That's done through many ways. I mean, you could do it through public hearings in the most formal way, obviously, but that most of the time is not enough. Clearly, you have advisory boards that provide advice and so on. There may be a need to have special meetings and workshops from the commission. I do it all the time when there was an issue that is significant. Mm-hmm. In order for you to be able to have an honest discussion about the priorities, because at the end of the day, it has to be your priority. And if you don't have a process that is transparent and allows for the citizens to understand what's going on, they will think that those priorities were developed in a back room or some other place. That's not a good thing. And I've seen that so many times, and I certainly don't agree with that approach.
Thank you. Thank you. So that's our questions. You now have about 4 minutes to give us a little closing statement.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. You've been wonderful. We had a great process. Like I said, my career began here and it continues. I do have a job, unlike other people. I only applied for this job because it was special to me. I'm not applying for city manager in general in other places. That's the reason I'm here. And I had a chance to listen to many of your neighbors and residents that expressed some of the desires and some of the concerns that they had. So I think I understand the community fairly well at this point for not knowing anything about it, basically. So what happens is that I am very, very happy for the opportunity. And if you have any questions, you can follow up with me at any point. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the effort. It takes a lot of effort to go through this process, and we appreciate everyone that's done it.
And I think that's the end of it.
That's the end of it. You're it.
Right there.
Thank you.
Use that door right there, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Safe travels.
Have a good
Thank
trip
you.
back.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Break time?
Want to take a break? You folks, okay, it's 10 to 3, so we're in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to take a 10-minute break. We'll come back at 3.
Madam Mayor, it's 3
I don't
o'clock.
recognize you scoring on.
Is Linnell around?
Linnell?
Of course not.
Our representative from the Basinger firm?
You already cashed that check.
Yes, I'm
Yes, she's
here.
here.
What?
I'm here.
Oh, okay, hi.
Hi, how are you doing?
Oh, we're hanging in there. We're hanging in there. We just interviewed 4 people. And so now it seems like your suggestion is that how do we submit our first and second choices?
So we'll just go in order. And I'll just maybe call your name, and then you can tell me, and don't rank them like this is my first choice, this is my second choice. Just tell me your top 2. And we'll start with that. And then we'll, like I said, once we have, with 2 votes and 4 strong candidates, there may be somebody who doesn't get any votes, and that's not a reflection of them. It's just how the process works at times. So
This is
they're all strong
verbal.
candidates. But do I have the ability to share my screen?
You should,
Yes,
Okay,
you should.
perfect.
but this is a verbal submission of votes.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so it looks like we're alphabetical order on here. So Commissioner Malega.
I want to go last.
Okay.
Everybody wants to go last. Everybody wants to go last.
I'm okay with just going. I mean, sooner or later, we're all going to get there. So
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead. Can Mr. McVoy's close to McMaliga. It's, right next to me. McMaliga.
And Sarah can go next.
Okay, so am I going? Is that what's happening?
Yes.
That'd be
Your top
great.
2. Your top 2.
My top 2 is Mr. Cohen and Mr. Trius.
Okay,
Um,
Mayor.
My top 2 are Cohen and Davis.
Cohen and Davis. Okay. Commissioner Robinson.
My best fit for Lake Worth would be based on fit and professionalism, Carmen Davis and Tom Whitman.
Okay. All right, and if I miss here, please correct me. So Commissioner Stokes.
Yes. Davis and Trias.
Okay.
Oh, there's nobody else up here but me now.
Yeah.
You, but you got to go last, so.
My top pick for, in regards to who I think is the best fit for this city at this time is Carmen Davis. And my second would be, you told us not to rank him, Cohen. Sorry, I don't follow direction
Okay.
very well when I'm under pressure.
Yeah. Davis would be my top if I was to rank them.
Okay, so we have Thaddeus Cohen with 3 votes and Carmen Davis with 2 votes. So we can go ahead and
Davis has 3
I'm
votes.
sorry, that's 4 votes.
yeah, Davis has 4. And Cohen has 3. So let's remove, we'll remove Hutka and Trias from the spreadsheet and clear the votes, and then go through the poll a second time and everybody pick their top choice between these 2.
No discussion?
Do we want to discuss a little bit?
You
I
can.
was ready to go first this time. Damn it.
You'll just have to wait.
You're just out of step.
I know, we're under pressure.
Madam Mayor,
Yep.
I would like to say that Thaddeus Cohen is a professional and well prepared city manager. I'm more concerned about a fit with the community, a relationship with department heads, the ability to communicate in a professional manner, but yet relate to our citizens and our department heads. And for that reason, I'm very strongly in favor of Carmen Davis.
Carmen Davis.
Not co. Okay,
Okay, Dave.
We have a choice of one.
Yeah,
right.
okay. Do you want to go next?
It was hard for me to even not put Cohen on my pick of two, you know? And I was actually very delighted with a lot of the conversations I had with the candidates. And so it's so hard choice between Cohen and Davis. Like, I know I put her on my top two, but Cohen was like neck and neck there. So, I don't know. They both have different strengths and different areas that I think would be well serve our community.
Was what I was,
Huh?
longevity. And
One thing about, if we want to just chat a little bit.
I feel more, I want to hear what everybody's thinking.
Yeah, one thing I think about Miss Davis and why she is my top pick, a couple things, reasons for. Number one, when I interviewed her on Zoom and when I interviewed her again last night and spoke with her a little bit, there was a lot of eye-to-eye contact. I felt that of the four of them, she was the most engaged in the conversation. And last night, it was kind of a whirlwind around us, and I spoke with each one of them last night. And she was when she and I were talking,
yeah,
we were right there.
agreed.
She put a big emphasis on supporting staff. Our staff is a little nervous right now. They've been through a lot of changes in the past 6 months. And her concept, her vision about listening and promoting staff, I thought was excellent. She's been an administrator of a large, she knows storms, she knows water breaks, she knows, that sort of thing. And I really liked her demeanor.
She carries herself well.
She carries herself well, and she's very calm. When I was Zooming with her, it was the same thing. It was interesting. That there was one woman at 4 minutes. Okay. And when I spoke with her on Zoom, I got the feeling she was listening to me, not listening to respond. We all have this habit of listening to, what am I going to say next? I got the feeling that, almost to put it bluntly, I was able to get a word in.
Which
You've said enough.
I admit you might have some challenge.
I do have some challenge with this group. No, I felt like we were having a conversation. She wasn't necessarily selling herself.
Mm-hmm.
She was listening to what I had to say, and she thought, and she responded. I liked her demeanor. I think that, we have a lot going on in Lake Worth, and there's a lot of things that if you're not careful, your hair can catch on fire. And I really got the feeling from
But he's
her.
got the hard hat on.
I know. I have my old, we got safari hats when we did CERT. I still have it. So I just thought she had a very calming demeanor. She felt open. I didn't feel like things were not, let me just say it politely, things were not explained to me that I did not need explained to me. Where my experience with others was a little bit, I was getting explained things that I really knew that I didn't need explaining about. There's a phrase for that. But I really felt like she was the most open, calm, a lightning strike had come down and she'd figure out, well, how do we handle this? Let's take this step by step. She's very formal, and that might be a little bit, less, we were sort of loose around here sometimes too loose. But so that's why she's my first pick. My second pick would be Mr. Cohen again, his experience. He has some very good ideas about, redevelopment, empty cities starting. But I think for what we need right now, I really see her as the choice that I would go with.
I have to say, I agree with you, which is funny because in the beginning, I was the one who was very skeptical because I know the history of when she worked in Detroit.
I asked her about that.
And the things that had happened. And her and I, that was one of the first conversations we had during Zoom was, all right, let's just get this out in the air.
I spoke with her.
Let's talk about Kwame.
Yeah.
And knowing the things that had happened in Detroit and the transitions, we wiped the slate clean and I listened with two open ears. I love the fact that she has worked with emergency management with the state of Mississippi. Mm-hmm. She had to work through Tropical Storm Isaac. Mm-hmm. She's worked with huge budgets. Mm-hmm. She has done union negotiations. I asked a question today in regards to PBSO, and the mayor and the city manager are the ones at the table with that contract negotiation before we see it.
Right.
And she's like, I work with the sheriff's office. That's what I do.
Yeah.
So everything that I asked her, and she's got the planning background.
She does.
So to me,
and she's got an MBA.
And I asked her the most important question. maize and blue or green and white, and she gave the right answer, green and white. She's a Michigan State person. So that gave a little bit of prevalence. I'm just joking. But I thought that she was poised. She was eloquent. I asked everybody, what did you think about yesterday? And I got really negative answers.
Mhm.
And I asked about the tour and I got really negative answers. And then I got detailed answers from both her and Mr. Cohen referencing Osborne. I mean, they gave me names of where they went versus it was, just some people sitting at a desk and it really wasn't informative.
Right.
And I was like, see, it's all about what you wanted to see is what you got to see. And I just loved her positivity.
Yeah.
I also think that she is going to care about elevating staff. Like she just talked about giving money for GEDs or, how do you make your staff better? I feel that she's the best choice right now of the candidates.
It's your boy.
I'm hearing all of my colleagues, and I think a number of things that I'm hearing resonate with what I experienced personally, that I thought she was a good communicator. I thought she was very comfortable with herself, which I think is an asset for the community. I found some of her responses at our questions today a little thin. Not so that to me, it's a balance between maybe content and communication. I clearly hear you and agree that communication is an important part of it. But I'm looking a little bit more for content, and as I don't think is any secret, well, I don't know, maybe it is, but as I see Lake Worth, I see a small community that was one of the first communities in South Florida at a time when there was nobody here and there was 100 people in Lake Worth, that has a very unusual layout for, again, historical reasons, both in the neighborhoods and the downtown, that is now part of 7 million headed for who knows how many million. We're very influenced by the context that we're in. We are in South Florida under continual huge development pressure, have been for a long time, probably will be until the climate in the Northeast changes to blue and green year round. I think we will continue to be under huge development pressure. We already have Wall Street moving some of itself to West Palm Beach, which will only increase that pressure. In my mind, the biggest thing that we collectively were elected on in March was development issues. What are we going to be as a community, given this huge development pressure context? How are we going to figure out collectively, because I think one of the things we've seen is that we, even as ourselves, residents, don't necessarily have a single view of what we're going to be or a cohesive one. Somebody has to build that democratically, inclusively based view in the community. And then somebody else, under our direction and guidance, needs to codify that into LDRs, land development regulations, comp plans, all that stuff.
Yeah, I asked a question, I didn't mean to interrupt Mr. McBoy, but I did ask a question about
can I
development,
finish
and I
first?
have her response, so if you didn't ask it.
I would like to hear it. I understand. I definitely noticed that she has a planning background. I asked a little bit about that. My sense is that her planning background is not very strong. Mr. Cohen's situation, I found him to be a very personable communicator. He has a very wide range of experience from a town, Key West, where we get a number of residents that move here from having been in Key West and move because of development issues there. He has done Pensacola, which is a totally different sort of city. He was appointed by a governor to be secretary of DCA, Department of Community Affairs, which is usually, it no longer exists, but it was what gave sort of where you send your 7-year reviews on comp plans and so on. I think he brings an expertise. I suspect he would be pretty good at pulling the community together to form a coherent vision of what we want to be. And I think he would have all the chops and tools that it would take to translate that into our code. And Why do I think that's important? Because we will come and go. All of us aren't going to be here for 20 years. What this city looks like in 20 years is what we get written into the code. Right now, we have a situation where developers come in, and we heard several of the candidates refer to it. Hey, the developer's angle is I need 3 votes on the commission and I'm good to go. I really don't care what's the vision of the community, because our vision is not captured in our code.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
So my reason for that is I think we need somebody with the skills of either Mr. Cohen or Mr. Trias that can do the translation and knows how to deal with developers. I don't think that's Ms. Davis's strength.
Can I give you her answer? So one of my questions today is, what do you see as your role when an outside developer approaches the city with a project? And she said, well, my first response is, does this developer's project fit our city's vision and where the city wants to go?
Yeah.
And she said, that's going to come through what you as a body gives us as direction for the community, what the community is telling you. She said, and I'll be able to tell the developer, you know what, that's not really the fit for Lake Worth right now. Or you know what, you might have an opportunity if you have flexibility. Or yes, it sounds like you're a perfect fit. Now you need to sit down with our planning department. She gave me a very thorough layout because I asked everybody the same question.
yeah. Now let me add this. I mean,
If I
Go
can
ahead.
respond to that, but if you'd like to, go ahead.
probably God, we all, I mean, how much longer do you want to talk? You've been talking for quite a while.
Well, I think this is an issue that affects what our community looks like for the next 30, 50 years. I think that's a big deal.
And I'm going to respond to that by saying, you know, you talk about the pressure of development. We are not in the position where we have wide swaths of available land for development. The areas that we have now are quite limited. We have some places on Federal, we've got some places on Dixie. No one on this commission, and I don't think anyone that we talk to, unless they're just completely different from our view, is saying, let's go and knock down 17 blocks of small cottages and raise and do that. So I don't see areas that have a lot of open space. The development pressure is much harder there, but I don't really see a pressure for development. We've got a couple of developments going on now, but we don't have a lot of space to do new development. So I think that, I don't see anybody approving cutting down historic cottages.
I guess the place that I differ from the interpretation, and that doesn't mean that I'm right, I don't know. But my understanding of having been around development issues and planning issues and around a lot of development attorneys and those kind of things, the verbal stuff is all fine. It's what's in your code that counts.
Well, we're not hiring a planner. We're not hiring a planner. We have, I think what Sarah is saying, we give direction to what we want it to look like, and the planner writes the code.
And I think what all of Chris was talking about was what our job is, to relate to our city manager.
And
So I think you were describing our job, not the city manager's job.
They get direction from us.
That's correct.
Yeah, the direction and the providing of it and us gathering it from the community with perhaps help of staff. Yes, we do that part.
So
turning it into code that in realistic terms, in a place with as much development pressure as South Florida, takes expertise.
It's not the city manager's job.
That's not their job. That's staff's job.
And we have to give them direction.
Well, I think we're focusing too much on the turning it into code right now, per se. I agree that it's important. I do agree that it's important, but I also.
There's more to it than that.
I also agree that I do think that we're under a lot of development pressure. And I even though we're mostly built out, we're going to be navigating the beach when we start talking about public-private partnerships. That might turn that beach complex into a whole other discussion. And we are going to be navigating our downtown and this part of town, the way that this part is evolving over here on the west side of Lake and Lucerne, and that this whole strip is so important that we do it right. And that we do it while we have the chance. We don't just keep pushing it down the road like we see all the time happen, which is one of the things I really did like about Mr. Cohen is that he's been involved in seeing completion of projects and has that experience. I liked a lot about Ms. Davis. I think she'll be a great city manager, but the thing I felt that Cohen was stronger in projects that he could point to and speak about. You know, Davis has great ideas, and I like her approach, but she didn't point to like.
I don't think she mentioned a lot of the projects that she did do
In her
Detroit.
resume.
From somebody who's lived there, especially when she was a planner, nobody would walk a city block in Detroit. Now, Detroit property there, 3 years ago for a loft that I was looking at was $170,000. Now I can't touch it for less than $700,000. So, I mean, she has had successes. She didn't point to those successes or name them like some of the candidates did. But she does have that planning background. And I think that I honestly think that she's got the best basket of tools to come to the table.
I'm going to ask for a vote.
Watch your head.
It's your,
My helmet, hard hats are good. I'm going to ask for a vote. I think we have 3 committed. What?
I know, and I agree with you, but I feel that if we bring in a city manager, that they should know that they have the support of the entire
That's what I was going to ask.
commission.
Thank you.
Not a 3-2 or 4-1 or whatever. We want to give this person, whoever gets the job, that we are behind you. We will help make you as successful as you can be for our city and our employees and our residents.
So given that there's maybe 3 firm commitments to Carmen Davis, I would ask that the other 2 votes offer their support for a choice for Carmen Davis.
Yes, I put her in my top 2. By no means, this is a hard decision.
Mhm.
They're, like I said, different strengths, different weaknesses. I think she'll do an excellent job.
It's a fit.
Yes, I think she's a good fit. I think that Mr. Cohen's a little stronger in some of the areas that I think are urgent, but I do think that I would be thrilled to have her come and serve with us.
Serve with us? Go in the
Serve
trenches?
With us, serve the community with us.
Unanimous is good.
What?
Unanimous is.
Absolutely. So
relatively,
Commissioner McCoy,
Good in, support.
Can you vote for
our new
Davis?
manager.
I mean,
So if I could interject, another option is to let everybody vote the way that they would like to vote, to prefer, but then when the selection is made, you can pass a motion that everyone will support the manager. So that's another way to handle this that may be more agreeable. But it's really up to you how you want to handle it.
It sounds like to me like that's a politically correct way to
Right.
do it. For on the record, you voted for A, B, or C, but you're joining the masses to show support.
Well,
Maybe.
in our conversation, I think we've expressed our choices and in a vote, would go more without voting. From our conversation, in a vote, it would show support for one person. So I think we've expressed our choices, and I would call for a vote for Carmen Davis.
I second that.
all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
So I would
Unanimous?
Unanimous.
I would recommend Carmen Davis for our future city manager.
Okay, and it's
think we
a
just
unanimous vote, which I appreciate.
It's done.
And,
done.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
our office can reach out to her
Mhm.
to start the contract negotiation process.
Okay. Can we all get a copy of Mike Bornstein's contract?
Say that again?
Can we get a copy of,
Absolutely.
we should all get a copy of it,
Yep.
Mr. Bornstein's. Hi,
And I mean,
Am I allowed?
we
Are
haven't
you
adjourned yet.
Commissioner Maliga?
When we look at those contracts, I think that it would be prudent for us to consider providing our interim city manager a contract with his position for at least the next year. To
Absolutely.
give him,
And her.
well, to give both of them let's just say, to give the entire organization some stability and peace of mind. I would really like us to consider, I know it's not normal, that the city commission get involved with the assistant city manager.
You walked in and the lights went off. I don't know what that was about.
Because he's got full of drawn so much energy to him.
I thought we only had the ability to do contracts with the internal auditor,
No, the
city manager,
the city
and
manager,
the city attorney.
the
We can
city.
do contracts with different employees. I think there's a couple contracts out there right now.
What I would recommend is we'll take that as direction and follow up with each of you one-on-one.
That's fine.
To talk about the potentials
That's a
for
good
the
idea.
assistant city manager contract and the city manager contract. The first thing I'll do is get you all a copy of the last city manager's
Mhm.
contract and a copy of Mr. Ruiz's current contract.
Right.
So we'll
Perfect.
have that, and then we'll reach out one-on-one and talk with you about issues.
And that's an issue that I picked with everyone, but with Ms. Davis she was the most supportive of, what Juan's role is. And
I just think it's important for staff too.
Absolutely.
We as a body care about the entire
and she was
organization.
very much, he's the guy that knows where things work. So yes, he would be absolutely an asset and not a threat. Okay, so what's the next step? Does Lauren, our HR person, reach out to them? Lauren, HR person, is
I
she
don't know if HR does or if
the
our
clerk?
consultant reaches out.
So we can, there's two ways we generally do this. One is that you appoint somebody from the city to work on the contract in conjunction with the city attorney and then keep us in the loop. Or we can assist with the contract negotiations, and we're happy to do whichever you prefer.
I trust us.
I trust our HR and legal to handle it.
Yeah, we'll work with Lauren, certainly.
Yeah.
So we can work with Lauren and we'll go from there with that.
Who's notifying her?
Okay, if you have any questions along the way, please let us know. We're happy to assist you however we can.
Sure.
Are they notifying?
Or is Lauren?
No, we're gonna notify. I think we're gonna.
Lauren will call her and let her know.
Lauren downstairs.
Gordon Sladen.
Sladen. We'll notify. Thank you very much for spending time with us today.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
First,